This video presentation has been classified by the ABC as M. It contains material that is not recommended for persons under 15 years.
As well as watching this vodcast, you can watch Good Game on ABC2 every Monday night at 9 o'clock and ABC1 late on Friday nights after Triple J TV with the Doctor.
Hello and welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers, by gamers. I'm Barjo.
I'm Junglist, and welcome back to the Den of Gaming.
We've got months of gaming goodness ahead of us, Jung, so let's not dilly-dally around with comments about our new shirts or our super awesome, oh my god, official Good Game arcade machine.
Hey, come on, over here, let's go. Let's talk about the games. Soul Calibur 4 is a fighter that aims to blend stylish looks with super substantial stats and combos.
And the Guitar Hero franchise gets a new addition, Aerosmith.
And we'll be following Badjo as he travels to Los Angeles for the gaming event of the year, E3. But first, can you guess the game for this week?
And that has to be one of the least stylish fighters ever produced. But can you name it? News time, Jungie. Nice shirt, by the way.
Good game! One of the most anticipated games of 2008 has been denied entry by Australian censors after being refused classification in July of this year. Fallout 3, the latest game from Oblivion developers Bethesda Softworks, has been effectively banned by the Office of Film and Literature Classification for reasons of drug use. It seems that the game's power-ups, which include a variety of chemical substances, were a bit too close a resemblance to real-world drugs, prompting the game's refusal. We contacted the OFLC and they confirmed that the game had been modified and resubmitted to the board. However, at the time of reporting, a decision regarding the game's final classification had not yet been made. We also contacted the game's local distributor Red Ant, but they refused to comment. In other classification news, Good Game has contacted the Standing Committee of Attorneys General to follow up on the state of the video game classification debate. When the Attorneys General met in March of this year, the possibility of introducing an R18 plus category for games with adult content was discussed, and it was decided that the Australian public would be consulted before a final decision would be made. A representative for the committee has informed Good Game that the lines of communication will soon be open for Australian gamers to voice their opinions. The committee will soon release a discussion paper outlining the topics of debate, and once it is released, submissions from the game-playing public will be sought. Stay tuned for more updates. Good game! Once a year, every developer with a project underway and every games journalist in the world, pretty much, descends upon Los Angeles, California for a 3-day gamer love fest known as E3.
The devs are there to sell their gamers the next big thing, and the journos are there to put it all into perspective. And that included us. Not us into perspective, the game into... Have a look at this. Pierce Brosnan, Ted Danson. Here's Junglist. And here I am. Excellent. America, land of the free, where games are cheap and servers are full. And Good Games here in LA. Gonna go play some games, play some games. Games. Fighting games have been around for a long time, and do you think they're in a good space in the current kind of computer game moments?
I think in fighting games, I think we're hit this real big peak in 95, somewhere around there, and there was a huge surgence of all these fighting games that came. Then as we go into the year 2000, I think some of the other ones kind of fizzled out, and we were left with like Mortal Kombat, Virtua Fighter, Tekken, but I think there's another resurgence that's coming back. In particular, Street Fighter, the one that kind of started it all, is coming out with a new version, and we're coming out with our version. So that kind of old rivalry of Mortal Kombat against Street Fighter is coming back.
Are we going to be known as the decade that made a difference?
Halo and Grand Theft Auto really launched the whole idea of a blockbuster game hitting with big numbers on day one. And if you look at what the last GTA did, you look at what Halo 3 did, and you hopefully see what Gears of War 2 does, I think you're going to see that you need to go big or go home and make a huge game that's a huge interactive, a huge blockbuster experience. Otherwise, why even bother?
While here at E3, we've taken some time out to check out the Championship Gaming Series, where our very own homegrown Aussie team, Sydney Underground, are competing for a spot in the semi-finals. What have you taken away from this? What do you think you've learned?
We've learned how to lose pretty good. But I mean, this isn't my first world final experience, so I guess it's a big learning curve. Next time we just want to come back stronger.
Was it stressful out there? Was the pressure really intense?
Oh, out there, no, it's not that stressful. It's like so much fun, with your teammates. It's more exciting and exhilarating, and you're just happy to be there than, you don't think about winning or losing. You want to do the best you can for your team, but other than that, it's fun out there.
Are we going to see you again next year? Are you going to change anything differently?
Well, as for changes, we've got a whole off-season. I've got to sort out the team for next year, but we'll definitely be back, and we'll definitely be gunning to be here again.
Talking about mature content, we're growing up with these games now and finding that we get a lot more adult content. Do you think when we get older, is it going to continue in this trend?
It's interesting that we get criticised about M-rated games, mature games, and yet, I noticed at the Oscars this year, all 5 movies that are up were R-rated, and, I don't see No Country for Old Men with, bolt through the head. They give them Oscars for that, and yet we get criticized for that in the game. So I think it's a little bit of a cultural and a generational thing that we're still struggling with a little bit, that people see games that are mature and violent and have, content like a Grand Theft Auto that has some mature themes in there, but it's only indicative of what we see in other forms of entertainment. You've got gangster rap with words that nobody would have dreamt 10 years ago you'd be using. You've got movies, such as we mentioned, that are pretty violent and gory and with tremendous amount of sexual innuendo, which we typically don't do in games at all. And yet we get the rap primarily because the generation, maybe my generation, didn't grow up with games, doesn't understand them as a true cultural piece of entertainment that is powerful and a major part of our lives.
Seems we're not the only ones excited about Street Fighter, Jung. And it's looking great. It's just as fast as the original, but with all the ragdoll and fluidity of next-gen fighters. All right, good luck. This guy's been on a bit of a streak, though. I might need a bit of luck myself. Oh no! I'm getting snapped. Oh, that's embarrassing. Well done. Cheers. Shown, definitely schooled.
Good game. And there'll be more from our E3 trip later on in the show. Jung, what's next?
Well, what do you get when you combine one of the most celebrated bands of all time with one of the best music and rhythm game franchises of all time? Surprisingly, one of the most forgettable experiences of all time.
Guitar Hero Aerosmith lets you play all your favourite riffs from the mega band, as well as some songs by other artists that have been inspired by the old school rockers.
Out of 40 songs, just over half are by Aerosmith, and ironically, the best ones and the ones that are most fun to play are not the Aerosmith ones.
It's not that they chose bad songs, they just chose bad songs for a game. They're long, repetitive, and even towards the end of some of the iconic ones, you're already over it.
Not to mention the dodgy covers.
In fact, it would be great if you could take the songs you do like off this and add it to your favourite Guitar Hero track list.
Yeah, because seeing as even the most popular songs aren't a great gaming experience, anything less than a true Aerosmith fan won't feel the need to pop the disc in the drive more than a couple times. It seems Activision have been trading off between their true classics and their moneymakers.
I see what you mean. After Guitar Hero 2, we had Rocks of the 80s, which was a lemon, and now after Guitar Hero 3, we have this.
And after the next real Guitar Hero, there'll be Guitar Hero Give Us More Money, You Lemmings.
Exactly. I mean, it is marginally better than Rocks the 80s, which only had one good song on it anyway, but I think we should move on.
Yeah, being a Guitar Hero fan is not enough. You have to be a true Aerosmith fan. For everyone else, give it a miss. I'm giving it 3 out of 10 rubber chickens.
The game works, but the songs bring it down. I'm giving it 6 out of 10.
Good game.
Well, it's been a big few months for gaming while we've been off air, and this calls for a good game roundup of just what went on. Now, Jung, you've been playing a lot of Conan online, haven't you? In fact, you started to look a bit like him there for a while.
I have, man. I went hard on the old Conan, as did a lot of people. It had over 1 million people on beta. It quickly got to just as many after launch, so there was a lot of interest in this game, which was good to see because it brought a few new things to the table.
Go on.
Well, the great graphics and the great music, that's the obvious stuff, but they've also recreated Robert E. Howard's world very well and made good use of Conan canon. But it goes a little deeper than that. Most MMOs are just about abilities. Age of Conan actually has a core combat system, and the abilities just complement that.
But I heard about all the problems they've been having. I mean, there's a bug where you have to force to download a 16 gig file, another bug where female rogues do less damage than male rogues. In fact, I've even seen someone get an error message when they tried to uninstall the game. I mean, this has to be the most broken game we've seen in a while.
It's true, man. It's all true. And now Funcom are officially the kings of introducing new bugs with every fix. Poor design changes and hasty nerfs have seriously crippled this game. It may well be the first MMO to get worse with every patch. And now with rumors of the developer having financial troubles, Age of Conan's future is looking shaky. But what about Bourne, Badge? How'd you find that?
Now I was very much looking forward to this after our preview last season, and Bourne does a great job of combining hand-to-hand combat and shooter action. If you get too close to an enemy, a fisticuff punch fest will begin, and this forces you to position yourself out of the line of fire of other enemies that are around.
Do you think it worked, Badge?
Pretty well. It's easy to drool over the takedowns which use objects around you, but the game lacks level design, so you're forced to use your Bourne instinct to see where to go, and this gets old pretty fast.
I thought the combat system could have been a lot more ambitious, a little more than just punch, heavy punch, quick time event. That plus it's a pretty quick ride of about 6 hours to a weak ending.
That's true, John, but you can't deny that the game is exciting, and that's a really hard thing to achieve in any game. Yeah, I liked it.
Another biggie was Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and this one was at the top of every Wii owner's must-have list over the break. Now, maybe I'm alone here. Try not to hate me for this, everyone. But I know as a Nintendo fan, I should really get into this series. But ever since I played the first one on N64, I just haven't gotten into it. I don't know why I don't like this game. But, ever since that first one, it hasn't really evolved much other than new characters.
I admit, Jung, it's very similar to the GameCube and N64 version, but it's not disappointing. There's so many unlocks and bonuses, and the character roster is huge. It's also a really accessible game, and I think that fighters are too serious nowadays anyway. This is just pure fun. I mean, come on, Jung. Any game that can pit Sonic vs. Mario vs. Solid Snake has got to be worth a play.
Speaking of Solid Snake, what did you think about Metal Gear Solid 4?
Yes, I've had many arguments over this one, Jung, and, I'm only about 12 hours into it, and the gameplay has been a fun ride so far, and the boss fights are exciting, and you can't deny the art to the cutscenes, but at some point, you've got to sit back and ask yourself, has this series evolved, and am I really enjoying 10% gameplay and 90% cutscene?
Were you?
Well, not really. I mean, it is fun with the customization of the weapons, but being able to pause mid-battle and re-arm yourself and eat some food and pull a barrel out of your pocket, it really breaks the immersion for me.
You know, there's a lot of MGS4 fans out there, Badge. This sort of thing might invoke thread flaming.
I know a lot of people who love the story, but for me it just felt like too much text in a DS game. I just wanted to get to the actual game. Still, you can't deny its style.
Ryu Hayabusa is all about style in Ninja Gaiden 2. However, I expected more from this one. It didn't really feel like a swan song to me. The boss fights and level design is weaker, the camera is still broken, the story is pathetic. It did have some pretty cool weapons and lots of blood and gore, which was good, but it resorts to cheap tactics in order to unfairly increase the challenge.
You can't deny the gameplay is tense and it's fun and exciting. Also, I can happily recommend this to anyone who likes ninjas. Well, that's our wrap-up. I don't know about you, but I was a bit let down by the games over the break, Jung.
Maybe that's what comes from high hopes.
Well, maybe so. But we have seen some great stuff at E3, and there's a bit more of that later on in the show.
Good game.
Whilst I was at E3 and you were in Hyboria, work continued down in Melbourne on the Good game, Office Wars.
Now we're getting to the pointy end of the project, and we need your input for Phase 3. This time there's some credits in the game up for grabs.
Designers, we need you to come up with the company logo. It's called Waggle Max, and they make technical gadgets, but what is its corporate identity?
Musos, we need you to write an opening theme tune for us, and writers, we need a backstory for the game. Waggle Max's corporate profile, as well as a history of some of the characters, including the CEO and cleaner.
All the details of what to do are on the site, but now it's time for our new animation, Fatal Rage of Conflict.
Round 1.
Prepare to kiss the dirt. My only goal is victory. Hang on. Why does it always have to come down to violence with you? I'm sick of you. Always getting on my case and riding my back and just being so mean. Violence solves nothing, man. You're wrong. Power is the only real solution. You know I'm right. It just leads to more violence. A cycle that never ends until you win 2 rounds in a row. Before you know it, you're lying dead at the feet of some girl in a sailor outfit with a magic umbrella that shoots needles. Okay, hippie, what do you suggest? Have you heard of Dr. Dirk Steele, MD? He's top of the bestseller list. I think you should really give him a try. He can change your life.
Painful impact.
Thanks. I'll give it a shot. You made a good choice. He can change your life. He has more books, too. You should try this one. It's about standing up for yourself.
Total beatdown.
Thanks, that's awesome. I will. You have to check out his series of audio cassettes, bro.
Multi-hit combo.
Wow, thanks. I'll definitely give these a listen. I have the new Veronica's album I have to listen to first, but I'll definitely... Comes with a free binder. 2 binders. I hope you don't mind me saying I'm really touched.
Tears of Dragon. Winner. Good game.
Fighter fans have been bashing the likes of Dead or Alive 4 and Virtua Fighter 5 for a while now, but it's time the weapon-wielding warriors of Soul Calibur had their say on Next Gen.
All right, now let's work down our checklist of a fighting game. Okay, first up we've got the cheesy announcer.
What is she gazing with her calm, bright eyes?
Check.
Equally cheesy and redundant story?
Check. And ridiculously well-endowed female fighters.
Blow some curve.
Check.
My god, that has to be some kind of record.
Take note, game artists. Hildy is one of the new characters and simultaneously the hottest and most covered girl in the game.
Hilda is pretty interesting. Her short sword and lance make her deadly at long range, but kind of weak at medium. On the other hand, Algol, the new unlockable boss, can manifest new weapons as he attacks, and he isn't overpowered, but it does make for some pretty devastating combos.
And of course, what would a Soul Calibur be without a few guest characters?
Don't underestimate the power of the Force.
That's right, PS3 users will have access to Darth Vader, and 360 users can play as Yoda. We reviewed the PS3 version. It's been confirmed that either console can get the other character as downloadable content, and both consoles can get Darth Vader's secret apprentice from the upcoming Force Unleashed game.
And you know, why the charade? Having one without the other just makes them feel so out of place. You could see them using impact camera angles and crushing stone and wood where you came into contact with it, but they could have done with a lot more of that.
The nuts and bolts of Soul Calibur are pretty simple. It relies on a few rock, paper, scissors systems that favor the button masher. Weapon reach is also a big issue, and if you truly want to consistently beat a newbie every time, you have to become a master of positioning.
And this is because there isn't enough reaction time in the system to counter. Players have already entered in their command and just prayed they got lucky.
That and learning the combos is pretty much it. Blocking was a problem in previous games, so they introduced the critical finisher. If you can break your opponent's guard twice in the same place, it's GG for them. They look nice but require copious amounts of blocking and can best be described as the I win button you'll never get to press. A well-timed kick or grapple will result in a ring out, also an instant win.
To me, it was too simple and yet too technical at the same time, if that makes any sense. In the story mode, with some of the characters, you can button mash your way to victory on hard, and this is never a good sign. I don't know, I just think it's one of those fighters that has lost its way and gone away from that fun rawness to a more technical kind of game.
I think it holds its own quite well. You know, in multiplayer, you can go the normal mode, which is the level playing field, or you can go the special mode that makes use of all your customized characters with the crazy stuff like invisibility. And in single player mode, they've introduced a few new RPG elements like leveling up your character and completing challenges for gear.
You've got to admit, though, the story mode is over in a flash.
Yeah, but that's just to unlock stuff quickly. You know, with the training and arcade and challenge modes, there's enough to keep you occupied for a long time.
I found the low-res text-based tutorial in-game a little bit too confusing, and also the manual we got with it told us nothing. Is it too much to ask to transfer the in-game moves to the actual buttons that match the controller? I mean, it's just lazy and another layer of confusion.
You're right, that is lazy, and you know, pretty much every fighting game does that. What's with that?
You know, this game does nothing to look after newcomers, and unless you're already a fan and a member of the Soul Calibur Club, you're going to find it pretty hard to get in. I'm giving this 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, you know, I gotta disagree. I think Virtua Fighter 5 is still the more technical game, but Soul Calibur is flashy and fun, and it's got lots of interesting characters, which gives it what it takes to become a living room favorite. I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Does it hurt?
Good game.
Prince of Persia. I smell me an Australian. When you're developing a big title, you know, does it often, things like that change kind of at the last minute, like big decision?
It's finding the fun. When you're making a game, finding the fun is the trick. And sometimes you'll think this is a great idea, this idea is awesome, everybody's gonna love this idea. And then you put it in and it's not fun, nobody likes it, and you're like, bollocks. And so you have to cut it out, and sometimes you have to go all the way back to the drawing board. And it's always been this philosophy of giving you just a massive playground to play in, and then like Prince of Persia is like creating these little lines where you can just start doing acrobatics. And in the old games, it was like a little bit of acrobatics, stop. This game is like a little bit of acrobatics, don't stop, just go.
Please turn your camera off.
We've just been kicked out of the Prince of Persia demo because legendary god of gaming, Shigeru Miyamoto, wants to see it. So I guess we'll go find something else. MMOs are a very volatile market. Is it nervous going into that market?
Wow, you'd never be allowed in our office with talk like that. I mean, we call that talk one of two things, you know. People who aren't playing for the team, or as I like to say them, heretics. So to make these games, what you need are people with the right vision, people with the right design, confidence in your target market, confidence in your payment model, and a belief that you know right from wrong. If there is a sin in modern MMO design, it is the following sin. People look at games like WoW, and they obsess over it. What they don't realize is that WoW is a work of flawed genius. If you try to dismantle it, you'll never be too sure if the bits you're looking at are flaw or genius. If you try to emulate it, all you're actually emulating is an old game. What you have to do with things like WoW is revel in the hard work be amazed with what they achieved, and then ignore it. There is nothing but corruption, and our game has a vision, clarity, and a mission to deliver, and we're sticking to it.
That was cool. So I sat down to play Halo Wars, expecting to have an awesome demo, and once again, the Miyamoto has struck and we've been kicked out and moved and pushed aside. But if there's anyone that's going to push you aside, at least it was him. Last time we spoke to you, you said that you wanted to make this game and play it with your wife and have your wife enjoy it.
Yeah.
Has she played it yet?
She hasn't yet. You know, there's a lot of stresses in my life. There's a stress of finishing Fable. There's a stress of E3. There's a, you know, but nothing compares to the time that I'm going to sit her down and say, right, now we're going to play this together. Of course, I've got the co-op feature, which is going to help me a lot with that. I've got the accessibility and the one-button combat, but she's my toughest audience without any doubt. I think I might do it this weekend. I might be brave enough to do it this weekend. I'm going to have the development kit with me. I've got no excuses now. You know, most people would come home and have some romantic time after E3. We're going to go home and have some Fable time instead.
Where we're at right now, do you feel that we're in an important time? Is something happening now?
Yes, I think so. I think that we are in the middle of a golden age of indie game development where independent game makers can take any number of game creation tools. One person in their bedroom can now make a game, and you can pick a subject that has never been done before. Games are transitioning from just being an entertainment form to a fully blooded art form, and I've never seen such a target-rich environment as there is now for any creative person. I would encourage anybody who's interested in games, who's like, oh, well, it's too big or there's no opportunity. It's like nonsense. This is perfect time. There's never been a better time. Go out, pick up any game creation tool. You don't even have to be a programmer, and just make a game, give it a shot, try doing artwork, try writing a script, and it's a great time to break through. If there's any young game makers out there, do it. I encourage you. We need the help.
I'm tired, my feet are sore, my head is aching, but E3 was everything I expected it to be and more. Until next year, Los Angeles, Marjo out. Australia.
Good game.
Well, it's good to be back, but time has caught up with us yet again. Did you guess the name of the game, though?
It was Balls. Produced in 1994 for the Super NES and Sega Mega Drive, it was a 3D fighter named because its bizarre list of characters were all made up of spheres. The game is notable as it makes many people's worst games of all times list, mainly because actually controlling your character was almost impossible, making the game little more than a button masher.
Next week, we'll be looking at Combat Arms. It's a free-to-play, pay-for-item shooter.
And it's been almost a decade in the making, but finally Too Human is here. But does the mix of Norse mythology and future technology work?
And in Backwards Compatible, we'll be looking at other games long time in the making, such as Prey, for example.
Stalker.
And, of course, we can't forget Duke Nukem Forever.
So, same time, same place next week, gamers. Junglist out.
Marjo out.